Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our March break virtual tour. My name is Fahda, and I am a student recruitment and admissions representative here at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. I will be hosting today, and joining me are some of my awesome colleagues. In a few moments, I will get them to introduce themselves individually. Before I do that, I wanted to take the time to thank each and every one of you for joining us. It's very rare to have this opportunity to interact with our applicants and newly admitted students. So thank you so much for doing that. We would love to get to know you as well. So when you get a chance, please leave a comment in the comment section with your location and city and country where you're joining us from. Now I have Alicia, Saumya, and Jen with me. I'll start off with you, Saumya, to introduce yourself.
Of course. Thanks, Fada. Hi, everybody. It's so lovely to see you folks here. My name is Saumya. I am a fourth-year student here at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. I study life sciences, and I am a student ambassador team lead for the Student Recruitment and Admissions Office.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Saumya. And then I'll turn to you, Alicia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia. I am a recruitment officer here at Student Recruitment and Admissions. I'm also a recent graduate. I graduated this past spring of 2020. For today's session, I'm also going to be behind the scenes with my colleague, Louis. We're going to be helping to answer any questions you folks may have throughout the presentation. And then at the end, Fada, Jen, and Saumya will bring me back live, and I'll be able to ask them any questions you folks may have. So leave them in the chat below. And then also, I see some of you right now are also telling us where you're joining in from. So please make sure you introduce yourself and where you are joining in from, and that way you can get to meet fellow applicants or admitted students.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia. And then finally, Jen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen, and I'm the Occupancy and Admissions Coordinator here at UTM Residence. So my focus today is going to make sure that you know all about residence and the application process and all of the fun things that we do over here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So the agenda today will look like this. We'll start off with Saumya, our student ambassador. She will give you a personalized tour, taking you to all of her favorite places on campus, where she likes to grab a bite to eat, hang out with her friends, and study. And then we will turn and give the floor to Jen. Jen will give us an overview of what residence life looks like, as well as walk us through what that application process looks like on StarRez. Finally, we'll get to our favorite part of the presentation, which is we'll get back together and answer some of your questions live. As Alicia mentioned, you guys have a very important role. The questions that you ask us today in the comment section will help facilitate our discussion. So please go ahead and leave any comments and questions that you may have. And now I'll just quickly say goodbye to my friends. I'll see you guys shortly. We'll start off with a land acknowledgement, which is very important because land acknowledgements allow us to insert an awareness for Indigenous presence and land rights here in Canada. For those of you who aren't from Canada or coming to study at U of T, I do recommend over the summer reading more about Indigenous rights here in Canada. This is the first step to reconciliation. So I wanted to say that we wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. Now, I will bring my friend Saumya up. Hi, Saumya, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am. Thank you so much for bringing me back.
No problem. You're good to go. You have the floor.
Fantastic. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you again so much for coming. I'll just do a quick reintroduction of myself. So my name is Saumya. I am a fourth-year student here at UTM, and I actually was admitted for life sciences in terms of my admission category, but my current program spans across 3 admission categories. So I am a specialist in comparative physiology, which is part of our biology program. So if you're interested in that, life sciences may be the route for you. I'm also a neuroscience specialist, which is part of our psychology department, and I am a chemistry minor as well. So today I'm going to be taking you through a personalized campus tour of some of my favorite places and talking about my student experiences. And since we have Jen Bryden here, I'm going to start off with residence so that by the time you get to her residence presentation, you have a little bit of understanding about that. So let's head over to residence first. All right. So for most of my basically university career, for the first 3 years, I was a commuter student and I didn't live on residence in my first year. However, this year I actually am on residence. So if you folks know the area, I am from Pickering, Ontario. If you don't, then it's reasonable enough to know that it's a relatively far location from the Mississauga campus. So on residence, I actually work as a peer academic leader. So this is my team here of pals, as we like to call them. And essentially, peer academic leaders are here to help students support in their transition to first year through their academics. And so I am an LLC pal. So the LLCs are basically living learning communities. And so this is my community having a faculty field trip where we get to have more personalized interaction with our faculty. They were very excited for me to show this picture to show like what our events have been like online. And it's been a lot of fun engaging with our professors and having more professional development and faculty advising opportunities. So, fun story. I actually, because I never lived on residence before, I didn't know what to expect really. I didn't know if I was going to be in a townhouse or an apartment style, what kind of housing style I was going to be in. And when I arrived on campus, I realized that I had a townhouse all to myself. And so I was also in the renovated units of Putnam Place, which is one of our townhouse areas. And so I feel like I kind of lucked out a little bit, but essentially, on residence right now, because of the current situation, we are at about 50% capacity, which I'm sure Jen will talk a little bit more about later. But we are doing everything we can as pals, as well as our dons who help with personal supports to support you as student staff within this transition to your first year of university. So I'm sure Jen will go over this later in the presentation, but I did want to quickly touch on housing styles. So depending on your preferences, you may be placed into a traditional dorm style room, an apartment style, townhouse style. Currently, all of our rooms are single rooms, which means only one person is living in a single room, but we may also have double rooms available depending on the situation. So with that being said, I would like to head over to the Davis building. Okay, so located within the Davis building is the UTM bookstore. Now, this is definitely an important place for me because I have a lot of textbooks that I need to use for my classes. Within the bookstore, I like to think of this as your one-stop shop for everything for your academics. If you want U of T paraphernalia like clothing, etc., like you can see here, you can also buy all of those here. I buy a lot of my stationery from here, and I actually have a U of T mug sitting right next to me as well. So in terms of bookstore for textbooks, I would say that there are a lot of options for students for their textbooks, especially. You can buy them brand new, or you can buy a used copy as well if you want to save a little bit of money. Personally, finances were an issue for me coming into university, but I found out that you can actually rent your textbooks for up to 70% off at the bookstore. So this was very, very useful for me, not only because it was had that financial aspect to it, but also because a lot of my courses, I was thinking that I wouldn't need the textbook after the semester. So why should I pay so much money for it? With the rental option, you can rent your textbook for the semester or for the term that you're using it for, and then just return it back to the bookstore at no additional costs. However, there were some instances where I really wanted to keep my textbooks. For instance, one of my favorite classes in second year was this anatomy and physiology course. And I thought that I wasn't going to take any course like this at any point later in my university career. But I really, really like the course and especially really like the textbook. So even though I rented out my textbook, I actually bought it out for the difference in price at the end of the semester. So that is always an option. And that's actually a picture of my textbook sitting right above me on my desk here. So another thing that I want to talk about that's mainly located within Davis building is hospitality and retail services. On campus, we have a ton of amazing food options. And as I like to say on campus, there is something here for everybody. So based on your dietary restrictions, or if you're just a picky eater like I am, there are many, many locations on campus for food and drink services that can accommodate those requests. And I personally love the sushi that's available in IB building, which we'll talk about later. But Davis also has places like Tim Hortons and Harvey's, which will hopefully be open in the coming few months. In fact, one of the things I really love about the Davis building is this cafeteria that we have that was just recently renovated. And so this cafeteria is often where I would sit with my friends and study or grab some lunch. And this is kind of the majority of my social time. We would go grab lunch in Davis before we headed over to the science wing. So as a life sciences student, all of my labs are in here, and all of these science labs, such as biology, chemistry, earth sciences, anthropology, physics, et cetera, all of those labs will be located here. So labs, or practicals, as we call them here, are typically up to 24 students in size. So they're a lot smaller than some of your lectures might be in first year. In first year, your lecture sizes may be up to 500 people at some times, and it can be a little bit difficult for some folks to transition into that larger setting. So I really like these smaller size classrooms because it reminded me a lot of high school. I got to interact more one-on-one with my TAs, which are teaching assistants who lead the practicals. I actually got to meet my best friend in one of these labs. So you never know who you're going to sit beside, right? I walked into lab one day, I sat at a random lab bench, so did she. And to this day, my best friend Rachel has been by my side since that first lab day. As someone who's also interested in research, these labs are also a really great way for me to connect with my teaching assistant, or TA. My TA is a graduate student, or sorry, TAs are typically graduate students who are conducting research at the university. And as someone who is interested in research, my first year TA is actually the PhD student that I'm working under right now for my biology thesis as an undergrad. So it's typically a small world. So now I would like to head over to our next building. Okay, so this is the Innovation Complex, also known as the Kneff Center. This building houses mainly management and commerce programs. So while I didn't spend a lot of time in this building, one important resource I do want to touch on is the Office of the Registrar. Now, I actually work within the Office of the Registrar as a student ambassador within student recruitment and admissions, which is why I'm giving this presentation today. But I started in student recruitment and admissions in my second year as a volunteer. And then in my third year, I took on a work study within the student admissions office. Now, the work study program is a program where offices on campus allow students to work part-time as part of their work study program while still continuing their academics. And one of the things I really love about this program, and especially this office where I'm surrounded with such amazing colleagues, is that they do recognize that you're a student. So it's a way for you to earn some experience and earn some money while on campus, but also not sacrifice the academics, which you work so hard to get here for. So within student recruitment and admissions is just one part of the Office of the Registrar. Now, the Office of the Registrar is your one-stop shop for any advising questions. We have academic advisors, financial advisors, student success representatives, all here to help you in your transition and beyond. So these folks all probably know my name by heart now because of how many questions I've asked, and it's a really good thing to take advantage of those resources. I've asked questions about scholarships, about course prerequisites, enrollment controls, all of those sorts of things. So if you become a student here at UTM, you will have frontline service to answer any and all of your questions relating to your university experience. Now I would like to head over to our CCT building. So one of the liveliest buildings on campus by far is the CCT building, which stands for Communication, Culture, and Technology. Again, I didn't typically spend a lot of time in this building, but one of the things that I really, really appreciated was that there was always something going on here. For example, in our CCT atrium, there would be many clubs and societies, external partners, and university departments doing what's called tabling, as you can see here. to offer a showcase to their services, to promote events, or simply to talk to students and get to know them and interact on a daily basis. I personally love that there was always something going on. I could always stop by and see what was going on with departments or clubs. However, most times when I was in the CCT building, I was on my way to the library, which is where we're going to go next. All right, so this is the Hazel McCallion Academic Learning Center, which is named after a former mayor of Mississauga. I often like to joke that I would not be a science student if I didn't spend a lot of time in the library. But to be fair, there is also a Starbucks directly outside the library, so I think the constant supply of peppermint mochas definitely helped with with my obsession with the library. But essentially, the library is just that. We have tons of resources available for students for study spaces. We have technological capabilities in terms of many computers for students to study at as well. Another area that I like to talk about is the reference and research desk. So as a research student myself, I'm actually pursuing an undergraduate thesis in biology right now. I am able to book virtual appointments with folks from the reference and research desk to aid me in my research and to help me find literature that's related to it. And so this has been a really big help, not just during the pandemic while trying to navigate the online world of hybrid research, but also earlier in my studies when I would be doing research reports for other classes, and they could help me with things like citation styles, where to find sources, et cetera, et cetera. Another major facet of the library is the information and loans desk. So I didn't know this, but aside from books, you can actually rent out things like laptops, phone chargers, headphones, and even calculators. I found out that calculators thing way too late. I had a midterm test in my first year for chemistry, and I realized I was using the wrong calculator. So I wasn't allowed to use the calculator that I had for the rest of the test. And I'm pretty sure like 7 out of 9 questions needed a calculator. So needless to say, I learned my lesson that day, and I did some research and I found out the Information and Loans Desk actually loans out calculators that are able to be used across all tests at UTM. It's very standard. So needless to say, I learned my lesson. All you need is your U of T student card, and you can loan out books and other technological equipment from the Information and Loans Desk. We do also have a lot of study spaces on campus, and the thing I like about the library is that we have study rooms for 4 or more people. So before a test, I would often get together with my friends in one of these study rooms and cram before the exam, essentially, with a group of friends. So speaking of study rooms, another place that has study rooms is the Instructional Center, which is where we're going to head next. This is the Instructional Center, more informally known as the IB building. Why it's not called the IC building, I'm really not sure, but we typically refer to it as IB. This building doesn't have any departments associated with it. So as I've been saying, some buildings have departments associated with it, but the Instructional Center only has classrooms and tutorial rooms. So this is a very popular building for lectures and tutorials. This is actually IB 110, which is one of our largest lecture halls on campus. It holds 500 people. So as I mentioned earlier, your class sizes may range from anywhere from 24 folks to 500 folks. And it can be a little bit overwhelming in that transition sometimes. I know it definitely was for me, going from a classroom in high school of 25 people to this gigantic lecture hall of 500 people. But navigating the online world, it has been a little easier to interact with professors as well. So we're doing everything we can here at U of T to make sure that your experience here is still very engaging. Something else that I'll mention, as I mentioned before, I was a commuter for the first 3 years of university. And so with regards to my commute, I was always looking for ways to shorten it or to lower the cost of my trip or what have you, because from Mississauga to Pickering, it often took me around 2 hours, which can get very, very tiring for some people. And I know that especially in my second year, it definitely took a toll on me. And this is when I started using the UTM shuttle. Now, the UTM shuttle is a free shuttle bus for UTM students. Yes, it is free. You just have to show your student card. And the UTM shuttle offers a free service from the UTM campus to the St. George campus in downtown Toronto. So whether you're taking a class downtown or you want to just explore the downtown campus or even just travel to Toronto for free, it's a really great resource. It runs relatively frequently, and there's a schedule posted inside the IB building, and that's where the shuttle leaves from. And so this was really, really helpful in cutting down the costs of my transit daily, and also cutting down the time that it took me to get home, essentially. And it was also nice for when I wanted to visit friends downtown. I didn't want to spend extra bus money, let's say. So as I mentioned, there are tons of study spaces in the IB building. I love to come and study here with friends, often in the study rooms upstairs. Normally when in-person exams are happening, they will happen in places like IB because they have so many lecture and tutorial halls. So I often came here to study with friends. We also have a couple of amazing food places in IB, such as the sushi that I was talking about, bento sushi. We have Subway, Quesada, so there's something here for everybody, absolutely. So with that, I'd like to head over to our newest building. So as I mentioned, this is our newest building on campus. It's called Manjiwe Nende Moinan. It's an indigenous term, which means gathering of minds. And I like to think that that's very fitting for this building. I personally love this building. For short, we call it MN, and MN is one of my favorite buildings. It is just gorgeous. I came here to study a lot. This is where I spent the majority of my time on campus. I really love the north side of campus. I had a couple of lectures in here. This is mainly associated with the humanities and social sciences faculties. So if you're interested in those program areas, you may be spending a lot of time here. But to be honest, I mean, look at this. This is just gorgeous. There are tons of study spaces available here for students. And so even though I didn't have a lot of classes here, this is where I spent the majority of my social time. A lot of times I would just come here to hang out with my friends and catch up after a lecture, grab some lunch in another area of campus, and maybe bring it over here to the north side of campus. But the MN building is connected to another important building for me, which is Deerfield Hall, which is where we're going to go next. So this is a photo of Deerfield Hall from the outside. And as you saw from our little video there, it is named so because you can often see deer in the forest outside of this building, which is so, so lovely to see our UTM deer pop up every now and then. So this building houses the departments of computer science, mathematics and statistics, as well as psychology and theater and drama studies. So as a neuroscience student myself, which is within the Department of Psychology, I spend a lot of my time here. One of my favorite things about this building is that on the second floor, we have the psychology labs. So if you're interested in taking a course like first year psychology, you'll be taking those sorts of labs in this building. And it's really, really gorgeous as well. It's another one of our newest buildings. And you can see right here from this picture, this is one of the reasons I love the north side. It's just gorgeous. Another thing about this building is that for the theater and drama studies folks, their classes are located on the first floor. So I often, whenever I was studying here, would see folks from the TDS program running around between classrooms on the first floor for their rehearsals, which was really, really exciting to see because I didn't get to see that in other aspects of my science student life. I will say that there is also an amazing cafeteria here, which is not pictured here, but there's an amazing cafeteria as well as a second Starbucks. So no matter what side of campus I'm on, I can get that peppermint mocha when I need to study. Finally, we will be going over to our student center. So I decided to leave Student Center for last because I've been talking a lot about my personal journey, my academic journey throughout this tour, but the Student Center is really the hub of student life. This Student Center houses the University of Toronto Mississauga Students' Union, which is a mouthful, but we call it the UTMSU. And so our Students' Union offers many services for undergraduate students here at UTM, as well as discounts, events, et cetera, et cetera. I am part of the Arundel Biology Society as well, which is an academic society specifically for biology students. Every department has one of these academic societies. So if you're to attend UTM, you could get involved with one of these academic societies to get to know your peers a little bit better, other people in your program, professors that are associated with your program. It's very, very exciting. And I mention this because our office for the Biology Society is also located within the Student Center. So there are many clubs and societies offices that are located here. So a lot of times I would sit here in the office for a couple of hours and hold open office hours for biology or life sciences students to come and ask me anything, really. Another thing I love about the Student Center, though, that I love to talk about is our pub. We have this Blind Duck pub on campus. It is one of my favorite places on campus because the food there is the cheapest food on campus and, in my opinion, the best food on campus. I will go there every Wednesday evening for wings night, no questions asked. It's always a thing. So we have our Blind Duck pub for students that was created by the UTMSU. And on campus, we also have a cha time. So if you're like me and you love your bubble tea, I used to go between classes every single day for cha time to go get my milk tea or my peach green tea or whatever I was feeling that day. And I have one right next to me. In fact, I will probably be going later this evening. So with that, I would like to wrap up my tour and say thank you very, very much for listening to my personalized campus tour. I hope that you got some valuable information about it, about what student life is like, what the life of a science student may look like day to day. And with that, I would like to call upon my colleague from residence, actually, as I mentioned, Jen Bryden. Are you still around?
I am. Thank you. So thank you, Saumya, for all of the wonderful things you said about residence and actually hearing about your campus experience. It was so great to hear. And speaking about residence, I'm going to get started talking about residence and what your first year experience in residence will look like. So we'll start by talking about why you might actually choose residence. So according to an Academica study, it's actually shown that there's a greater attention to second year and graduation, meaning those who actually choose to live in residence are statistically more likely to stay in the university longer. Additionally, this year, there's easier synchronous learning. So for those students who chose to live on residence through the pandemic, they had an easier time with the synchronous learning because you're in the same time zone that your courses are being presented in. You also have access to in-person communities and programming, which makes it easier to make friends and have in-person connections. You have the opportunity to experience more independent living with your peers, with access to our many residence services, including maintenance and front desk, and 24/7, 365 support from student and professional staff members. There is an easy application, so I will be running through what that application process looks like a little bit later. And lastly, you get to experience our wonderful programming that we do in residence, which is where I'll focus next. So some of the things that we offer in residence is Residence Council, which is a student-led organization that represents students' needs and interests in residence. They have some fun events. So this year, through the pandemic, they ran things like Movember contests. They did a ton of candygrams and different like food boxes for people, and things like bingo nights as well. We also have a large orientation and Frost Week program in residence, which consists of things like the Get Experience in Residence Fair, coffee houses, Res 101, Can I Kiss You? There's tons of other programs that we offer. So orientation is when you first get here in September, and then Frost Week is when you come back in January and we're welcoming you back from the winter break. We also have lots of activities planned there. Additionally, we have a few LLCs or living learning communities in residence where students in specific programs can choose to live with people of the same program. So we do offer them for specific ones. So the CCIT program, computer science, Foundations, which is foundations of research. So if you are interested in doing research as part of your university career, that might be a good option for you. LEAF is the Leaders of an Environmentally Aware Future, which is for anyone who's really interested in sustainability and the environment. That might be something you might be interested in. Global, the Global LLC really focuses on an anthropology course. And then the Life Science program also has an LLC. So similar to like what Saumya was saying, she was part of the Life Science LLC. Our wonderful student staff are also available for support. So our Dons, who are kind of like your first friend in residence, are there for community building, support, and creating connections. Our PALs are our peer academic leaders. So that's what Saumya is this year, are your academic support in residence. And they really help facilitate the transition academically from high school to university. And lastly, our RSAs, are the Resident Services Assistants, work at the Resident Services Desk. And they are the administrative support in residence. They're really any logistic, administrative, or just general questions that you have, you can go to them for either in person, by phone, or email. We also have tons of programming and events that we host in residence with our specific clubs and organizations. So we have an artistic resource team, we have an equity outreach network, we have choir for those who are really interested in performing. The Home Notes are a great choir. They've performed a few times even through the pandemic. Coleman Cup, which is more of a something that we host, like a competition between residents every Sunday, and also the Sustainability Committee. I did want to point out that we actually have a video from one of our residents named Isabella, who talks about all the things that we did in residence this year while she was here through the pandemic, and why she thought that it was significant that she chose to stay in residence. So my colleague Jess is going to share the link of that video in the chat. Check it out. She does talk a lot about the wonderful things that we do. That said, you might be also wondering, like, what safety precautions has residents done to make sure that your time in residence is safe, because your health and safety is our utmost priority. So through COVID-19 this year, and most things continuing into next year, we have had an increased rigorous cleaning schedule. So our caretaking staff are 7 days a week are cleaning the common spaces quite frequently to make sure that because they are the high touch areas. We do provide single rooms for all students, so we'll be talking about that when I talk about the room styles, but we'll also be doing that next year, so the upcoming year, I should say. We do have hand sanitizing stations in all public spaces, so all public indoor spaces, I should say. We have provided masks. So the University of Toronto did provide branded masks to all of their students. And additionally, Student Housing Residence Life also provided Cheryl branded masks to our students as well, all free of charge. We have plexiglass barriers for students in student services positions. So our front desk position, all have a plexiglass around that front desk. We have a self-reporting web form for students who are experiencing symptoms in residence, so that they can have immediate access to a Res Life professional staff member to help them through like what they might need to do if they are experiencing symptoms. There are a few other things that are listed on the screen that I'm not going to go through everything, but one of the last things that we did is health screening upon entry for all of our students who are moving in. To protect you and to protect our staff who are assisting you move in, we did have health screening. Moving on, I'm just going to talk about the different residence styles that we do have here at UTM Student Housing. So the first two that we have are your suite style in Roy Ivor Hall and Arundel Hall. So suite style is basically like an apartment style. In Roy Ivor Hall, it is 4 bedrooms with one person in each bedroom with 2 bathrooms and a common area. In Arundel Hall, it is the exact same layout. It's just you have 2 beds in each bedroom. This year, we are only having 1 person in each bedroom, so it will be the same as Roy Ivor. You'll just have a bit more furniture, which is always fun. The next styles that we have are traditional single and premium townhouse. So the single are like a traditional dorm style, and they're in Oscar Peterson Hall. And that is 2 bedrooms with a bathroom in between, so you would be sharing that bathroom with that one other person. There's no kitchen, so like the suite style or the premium townhouse, they all have kitchens. Oscar Peterson Hall does not have a kitchen with each bedroom. There's a kitchen in the building that's shared amongst the entire floor though, or sorry, the entire building. But the premium townhouse, so there's single and super singles. So you'll notice that there's 2 bedrooms with a kitchen and a shared bathroom between those 2 bedrooms. Again, similar to those super singles in Arundel, there's 2 beds in that second bedroom in McGrath, but only one person will be living in that bedroom this year. So you will only be sharing that bathroom with one other person, regardless if you're in a single or a super single. The next thing I wanted to run through was just our timeline. So the first thing is that the residence application is open. It is on residence.utoronto.ca. And the next thing is just the 3 different things that you need to do to make sure that you've maintained your residence guarantee. So the first one is actually due on March 31st. So that deadline is coming up. And it's step 1, the residence guarantee application. And so what that residence guarantee application is basically just you indicating interest in residence. So if you're really unsure if you want to live in residence, maybe you do live close by and you haven't made that final call yet, I strongly encourage you to complete step 1 by that March 31st deadline, because if you do miss that deadline, your guarantees, you are automatically ineligible for the guarantee. And in that step 1 application, you don't pay anything or do anything like that. You're just indicating interest. The next thing you need to do is accept your University of Toronto offer. So you do need to accept your offer to the university by June 1st. And the last thing you need to do to maintain your guarantees after you've done step 1 and accepted your offer, there is step 2 called the UTM Undergrad Academic Year 21 to 2022 application. That is due on June 10th. It will not appear on your StarRes application until you've done the previous 2 things. So that's step 1 application and accepting your offer. Once you've done those 2 things, step 2 will appear on your application. And in that application, that's where you'll pay a $350 non-refundable application fee. It's where you'll put your personal information. It's where you get to select your preferences about where you want to live. Once those 3 things are done, you've technically met all the requirements for the residence guarantee. And so the next 3 dates I just want to highlight are just like things for you. So if you do apply on June 16th, you will get confirmation about either whether you've gotten an offer or maybe you missed some deadlines, so you might be on the wait list. But either way, you would get a response on June 16th. The next thing is on July 2nd. And if you are given an offer on June 16th, you have to accept that offer by July 2nd and pay a $1,650 acceptance deposit. And if you've done both of those things and accepted your offer, then on July 21st to 23rd, you'll get room and roommate information. Now I just wanted to show you what step 1 versus step 2 look like in terms of the application. So when you're on StarRes on residence.utoronto.ca, step 1 is listed under apply to residence. So when you click apply to residence, there might be a first question about like, do you want family housing? But if you say no, you'll get the residence guarantee application. And again, that's due on March 31st. Once you've done step 1 and accepted your U of T offer, step 2 will appear on your application, and that will be under My Applications. And so that will be listed as the UTM Undergrad Academic Year application. And that's what I mean is really important. The differentiation is step 1 is under Apply to Residence, and step 2 is under My Applications. Next, I'm just going to quickly go over the different fees. So you can see in the chart the different fees that have been listed for each of the different styles of housing that we offer in residence. Something I did want to highlight is that before you even come to residence, you'll have paid a $350 non-refundable application fee and also a $1,650 non-refundable acceptance deposit. So you'll have contributed $2,000 already to your residence fees before you have even arrived, so that when you do come, for example, if you were going to be moving into Oscar Peterson Hall, the total cost is $11,372, but you've already paid that $2,000. So really all you have left is $9,372. So all those fees you pay in advance go towards your residence fees. The last thing with this is that just a reminder that meal plan is required for students who do live in residence, and these fees do not include the meal plan price. So meal plan pricing is on top of this fee. If you do have any questions about meal plan, the meal plan office is great. Contact for that. And their email is mealplan.utm@utoronto.ca. I did want to leave it off with just an opportunity for if you have any specific questions that maybe we don't answer today, or you do want to know about your specific application, you can contact us. So a reminder that the application is open on residence.utoronto.ca. You can contact us by email at resdesk.utm@utoronto.ca, by phone at 905-828-5286, or you can check out our website, and we are happy to live chat with you. Our resident service assistants are always happy to chat. You can also connect with us on social media via Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. We have lots of things that we post there. And one thing I did want to highlight is that if we wanted to go more in depth about residence, we will be doing a virtual showcase tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. So March 20th from 2 to 3 p.m. We'll be hosting a residence virtual showcase. But with that, I will end about my residence specific information and bring Fada back to the stage.
Thank you so much, Jen. What an awesome information sharing that you did today. I learned so much about residence. I myself have never lived on residence, and that is one of the things that I do regret about my university experience. So if you're hesitant or you're on the fence, I would suggest really go for it. You're getting that 24-hour support, that Jen is talking to you about. And you're also like in a very exciting time in your life. You're emerging adulthood. You're about to start your university career. Please know that UTM faculty and staff are all here to support you and help you navigate that time period in your life. With that being said, we're going to get to the most fun part of our presentations, which is the information question and answer period. I will like to bring up my colleagues, Saumya and Alicia. Hi, guys. Hi, Alicia.
Thank you so much for sharing all that information. The chat has definitely been really, really crazy. We've been getting a lot of great questions. So I would just love to start things off and head over to you, Saumya, first. So we have a lot of students who are interested in learning a little bit more about student life. And I know that UTM offers over 120 student clubs, and you actually have the ability to create your own club. So one student in particular, she wanted to know, is there a space for students who are in the music or singing area? And I know you actually have some expertise in that. So do you want to share your own experience?
I don't know if expertise is what I would call it, but absolutely, I'd love to share. So in terms of, I can see the question, playing trombone and music is your favorite hobby. That's amazing. First of all, I will mention that if you are in residence and you're interested in music, we do have our own residence choir, as Jen mentioned. We've been doing a lot of asynchronous performances, which has been a lot of fun. I am also part of that. In terms of places to practice on campus or in dorms, and whether UTM has bands or other things like that, we do actually have a lot of really great music-related clubs. And some of those are more performance-based, some of those are more just chilling with friends and just having fun playing some music. And we do also, correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, we do also have our piano room in Roy Ivor. Yeah, and so that is a rehearsal space for folks who want to play piano, or maybe if they have other instruments. As for practicing in the dorm, the trombone can be noisy. I do recognize that. I did play trombone in high school as well. So for that specifically, I'm not sure. I might have to defer to Jen on that in terms of quiet hours, but there are definitely resources for students if they want to pursue some more artistic things on campus.
Yeah, the piano room actually is a practice space for students who do want to practice. It's a piano room, so there is a piano there for students, but you can bring any instrument there and practice there as well. And it can go as long as the resident services desk is open, you can borrow that space and practice as long as you like.
Thank you both for sharing that information. All right, passing this over to you, Fada. So we understand that university can definitely be a financial burden for some students. And so how does the university, specifically UTM, how can students who are both domestic and international go about applying for scholarships or financial aid?
Yeah, definitely. We have a website called Award Explorer that hopefully one of my colleagues will put up shortly. And if not, we'll put it in the comment section for you to access, where it lists all the possible awards available. International students in particular, you can get in touch with your financial aid advisor at the registrar's office. There are need-based grants available for emergency situations if you're in a dire situation. But we also do have merit scholarships, like entrance scholarships, where you're not applying for it. And during the time of offer, within about a week or two, you will get noticed if you qualify for those merit-based scholarships. We also do have continuing scholarships where at the end of your first year, if you maintain a certain GPA, you will automatically qualify for a scholarship for the upcoming year. So I would recommend study hard, maintain your grades, because there will be a lot of possible financial opportunities coming your way if you do so.
Thank you. All right, so we are getting a lot of questions also related to co-ops. So I would just like to take a moment to talk a little bit about this, and then I would love to bring your input into this, Saumya. So for co-op opportunities, it kind of works in a special way. So for students who are in the computer science program, you actually have the opportunity to participate in PEY, which is your professional experience year. Now, this is a year where you actually work in the industry, something related to your field. And we recommend students to do this because not only are you going to be helping yourself financially, but it's also a great way to get your foot into the door, build your resume, network, and who knows, you may actually get a job after it. But in terms of other co-op opportunities, the university actually takes a lot of pride in actually having so many different recruiters from global Fortune companies come out and actually speak to our students to get them involved in external summer internships. And I also know that we also offer academic internships which are for a credit. So you can actually take the course, gain a credit for it while also getting that professional experience. But on the topic of co-op, I'd also love to bring Saumya in here to speak a little bit about how valuable research is at the university and how it can actually be possible for students across all different areas of study.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, I am a research student. I'm currently doing an undergraduate thesis in biology. And so there are many opportunities for students to conduct research at the university. It's part of our experiential opportunities that we offer here. And obviously, the University of Toronto is an amazing institution for research. And I really appreciate the types of opportunities that we have. So even though some of these internships and research courses may only be for course credit, and it doesn't seem like you're getting that experience, let's say in terms of like a PEY or a co-op opportunity, there is still a lot of areas for professional development that you can develop within a research experience. So I've found it a very valuable experience so far. It's a good question.
Thank you. Passing this over to you, Jen. We have a question related to, are students able to bring in service dogs into the dorm?
Yeah, so service animals are a pretty specific request. They actually do require more documentation than just what residents would provide. So for service animals or extra accommodations such as those, you actually do need to run through accessibility services as well and provide the proper documentation that they require. However, you also do need to contact residents through a personalized accommodation request form, which is in the residence application. So for any other accommodation requests needs, you can submit in your residence application, indicate that you do have an accommodation request. So for example, even if you require a kitchen because you do want to be able to be given the opportunity to cook your own food because of maybe a severe allergy, you can request that in part of the application as the personalized accommodation request form, and residents will work with you on making sure that that accommodation is met, or at least what at bare minimum what we can provide to you as part of that accessibility need.
Thank you. Now passing this back over to you, Fada. So for students who want to get a better understanding of when the academic and financial dates are going to become apparent and when they are, where do you suggest they start looking?
Yeah, we have actually sessional dates outlined on our website, as well as on your ACORN. So I would recommend that once you get the offer from University of Toronto, please familiarize yourself with ACORN. It's the student portal. You can log in using your UTOR ID and password that you set up during the application process. It will let you know like your exact date as to when you can choose your course enrollment. It gives you up to the minute of when you can start choosing your course enrollments. But also we have sessional academic dates outlined within the registrar's office dates that they send out every few months. Also, I would recommend that you familiarize yourself with just in terms of academic dates, the course syllabi. So every course that you're enrolled in will give you a course outline with specific dates as to when you'll be submitting certain assignments and when an exam will be held. Exam dates will also are kind of coordinated from the registrar's office, and they will post those dates closer to the term, I guess halfway through your term. So you will know those dates ahead of time. So definitely just pay attention to your course outlines, the registrar's dates and deadlines on our website. We will put yes, I think my colleague put the website online here in the chat box. So, and your Acorn as well.
Thank you. All right, Saumya. So us being both science students, well, me a graduate now, a lot of common things that we often see is that a lot of students actually pursue this as an undergraduate degree for aspirations of going to grad school for medicine, dentistry, and so forth. So do you mind just sharing a little bit of advice for students who want to pursue medicine or any of these after graduation? What advice you would give them in terms of what should they focus on studying and how to go about it?
Absolutely. And you're totally right in the point of saying that many students are looking for an undergraduate degree to progress to those graduate opportunities and post-bac opportunities as well. So in terms of quote unquote good pre-med majors, there are a lot of programs that we offer. We offer so many programs of study at the University of Toronto that I legitimately forgot the number. And I would say that there are a lot of program combinations that can be conducive to your goals in that way. We do offer what's called a biology for health sciences major. So that particular major is targeted towards students who are interested in health sciences. Although you would have to pair that with another major or a double minor of some sort to have a valid program of study. But the beauty of that is that you can study courses of your field of interest. For example, I'm doing physiology as well as neuroscience because I just liked my first year psychology course so much. So even though I was interested in biology for that sort of pathway to graduate or medical school, I was also interested in neuroscience because of that kind of intersection between brain and behavior. And then I decided to tack on chemistry because I figured it'd be an interesting program for my studies. So in terms of good pre-med majors, I would say to go ahead and, speak to the sorts of medical schools that you're interested in to find out if they have any specific prerequisites before choosing your programs. But at the end of the day, going for the program that you're most interested in will definitely be most conducive to your medical journey, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I would also recommend is if you are thinking about these as your long-term goal, definitely start planning ahead and looking at those websites to see what requirements they need, and then making sure you are crossing those off in your checklist all throughout your undergraduate degree. All right. So I'd love to just take a moment to also recognize that a lot of students are very, very interested in the student life at UTM, which is wonderful. That's definitely a huge aspect that we take pride in. We know a lot of our students are actively involved. So if I don't mind asking one of my colleagues, just post a link of all the different clubs offered on campus. Rest assured, we do have a Taekwondo club. And just to give you guys folks an interest, Saumya was part of a lot of the singing and more of the music side. For me, I was part of religious and nonprofit clubs. So you can see the varying availability that is available for clubs on campus. But rest assured, we also have clubs that speak to just the most random and craziest things ever. There's even a club for people who love to eat lettuce. So if you're someone who finds that there's not a club that speaks directly to what you want, no problem, go ahead and start your own. All right, moving this back over to Jen, I would love for you to share one of your favorite memories about residence. So for folks who are a little bit nervous about living on their own for the first time, what would you say was one of the most defining and memorable moments for you?
So for me, I did live on residence for my entire, I was also a University of Toronto student, and I attended UTM. And so I lived on residence for my entire few years that I was here. And I think my favorite part about residence is really just you get so immersed with the people that you're living with, and it's so easy to make friends that those friends are still people I have in my life today. In fact, my roommate is someone I met in residence, and I've been living with her for 4 years now. So I think one of my favorite things about residence is just your ability to connect with people on an easier in such an easy manner. And part of that starts right off in orientation. So our standard orientation program that we offer when you first come in, you get like really immersed. It's all like it's your choice, like you can attend. But I strongly encourage you to, because it's just such an easy way to start getting connected with people. And one of the other things that we have is our student staff are just so supportive of making sure that the first year experience is met. So whether it's through a Dawn or a PAL or an RSA, every single student staff is knowledgeable about campus. In fact, I would argue that they're more knowledgeable about campus sometimes than even our pro staff, because they're living it and they're going through it. So they're always willing to provide our students with as much information as they can, and especially guide them to what they want. So for example, if you had having a one-on-one with one of our student staff, whether PAL or Dawn, for example, and you're talking about how maybe you're really interested in singing, but you haven't reached out to anything yet, they might suggest you even check out one of our residence initiatives like choir, or they might also suggest something else that they are aware of on campus. So I think that's also really helpful, is to just have student staff who are doing what you're doing and able to like talk to you about the things that are happening on campus.
I absolutely love how much community fostering happens at the residence level. So if you're someone who's a little shy or you're afraid of not making friends, definitely consider this to be one of the avenues to help alleviate that stress. So before I'm recognizing that we're coming close to time, before I hand off the last question to Fada, I would just love to answer one quick question, which students are kind of asking which programs are worth it. They want to get a little bit more in depth. So what I'm going to ask is for my colleague to actually drop a link to something that we have called Program Spotlight. And what these Program Spotlight events are, there are actually some happening in the future, and there are some recorded sessions already live on the website. But it's actually just an entire session where the department speaks about the program, what you can expect to get out of it from first year all the way to graduation, students speaking on their own experiences, and then a QA portion happening as well. So this is definitely an area for you to come in with your questions and get to know a little bit more about it. I also would ask if you could also link the Virtual Spring Showcase, because we are having this session coming up. And we actually have a CCIT panel, which the DEM program falls within, happening tomorrow, actually. So this would be a great session for you to check out to learn a little bit more about that program. All right, so that's enough for me, but sending it over to you, Fada, for the very last question. And do you mind explaining the differences between a major, minor, and specialist? A lot of students are a little bit confused by this, so can you just go in a little bit more depth?
Yeah, definitely. And the University of Toronto understands that there is a lot of confusion with having to choose a major right coming from high school. That's why you won't actually have to worry about getting this right until the end of your first year. You'll be given an opportunity to take a few courses, explore the campus before you choose your major, specialization, minor, or minor. So in order for you to graduate, you could either do one specialist, double major, or a major and 2 minors. Specialization means majority of your course, so the 20 credits that you need to graduate, about 9 or 10, at least half of it, or if not more, will be coming from that particular specialist program that you're interested in. A double major means about 8 to 9 courses out of your 20 will be focused on that major. You could do 2 majors or a minor. For you to get a minor, you would have to complete about 4 credits. Now, I know this might seem a little bit overwhelming and all the numbers that I'm throwing out at you. That's why we have academic advisors available to you. You don't have to do this all on your own. The minute you start registering for courses, I do recommend, especially if it's your first year, booking an appointment with an academic advisor at the registrar's office. They'll sit down with you, try to understand what your academic goals are, and help you plan the type of courses that you want to take throughout your your 4 years of study here at the university. So we also do have accessibility services available, which is another resource available to you, which is folks who will sit down with you if you require accommodations, maybe a little bit more time to submit your documents or like your assignments for school. They're there to help make those arrangements possible. We also have learning strategists available who will help sit down with you, find out how to study at a university level. It's a little bit different than high school, but they're there to guide you, help you learn time management, etc. So all of these resources are available. They're part of your tuition. They're free to you. You don't have to pay additional costs to attend them. So please feel free to take advantage of that. with that being said, unless Alicia, you have another question for me,
No, I would
that is it.
love to just say if someone in the could just drop a link that kind of visually explains the differentiation between the three. I think that would be awesome information for you. But you've already covered everything else, so feel free to take it on.
Perfect. No, and I wanted to say, first of all, thank you, Alicia, Saumya, Jen, for helping facilitate this conversation today. It wouldn't have been possible without you guys. Thank you for doing such an awesome job. And a special thank you to all of our applicants, our newly admitted students who are joining us. Thank you for your questions. You really made this very fruitful. I enjoyed learning so much. I hope you all did too. If we didn't get a chance to answer your questions, we do have admission representatives, student ambassadors available to answer all the questions that you have. You can call us with the number below or email us. And we also have a lot of upcoming events. We have more virtual tours coming up in April. We have that virtual spring showcase that Alicia was mentioning tomorrow. So check out our website at Discover UTM. Also check out our social media pages. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And hopefully we'll see some of you in the upcoming fall.